Okay, so what we heard at the beginning was the result of what I did prior by recording these little screen captures and of melody creation and shaping. And what I mean by melody creation first is something people often ask me, how do you write melodies? I usually write them first before the harmony. So shaping, what is that? That's the small little details that people often overlook. That's why I never use a keyboard to write melodies, because you might overlook a really small detail that might be important, like silence or an articulation or a slur line, dynamics. So I'm just going to narrate this because I've already written this out. I did this in silence. I stuck in a basic treble clef, okay? And I said, well, I'm going to write a 4-bar melody, okay? And here's what I did. I just kind of said, okay, I'll eliminate all the bars and just sit here and what my challenge was too was to force myself to only use mostly chord tones. So in the process, I was filming this, okay, and I said, I'm going to use mostly chord tones, I think. I believe when I wrote it out, there was only one non-chord tone. And when you write melodies, you could actually hear implied harmonies. So I just did a C, outlined a C major chord, okay? However, we're going to see where shaping comes in. I mean, that's pretty boring. So I'm going to admit that is very boring. So I just kind of worked in the second bar, and I kind of wanted to do a Phrygian dominant kind of sound. So went from the C major to a D flat major chord. Okay. You'll often hear Phrygian dominant in Spanish vibes or Eastern kind of vibes. But everything is very stale here at this point. So, sometimes it's good to listen back, or if you had a keyboard, play back your melody just to see, you could probably hear these things if you have a really good ear. And I usually don't require the sound, but so moving on to the next part, we'll begin at the C chord. So I was like, well, I'm going to close it out now. And there's one note that is not part of the C chord, the B. Now I'm going to go to the tritone effect, an F sharp major chord. Now, unusual skips, okay? But that's fine. This is modern times. We don't have to follow rules. So, and I kind of heard that kind of effect. So it's the ending's kind of like a closeout, an answer to the first half, or an ending kind of feel. So then I decided, well, what's the tempo approximately? So I feel this to be an up-tempo kind of thing, like it was in the beginning. So, okay, we'll just leave it here. It's a little fast, but maybe slightly slower, but, okay, so here's the first thing I think of. Well, right here, when I start looking at these things and hearing it, I hear a little bit of silence in there. And so that's immediately what I did. Silence is actually a very important part of music. Literally no sound being part of your music. So it immediately makes that first line better. It's given it that small little detail. And over here, I already had silence, okay, on the end of the musical phrase. The end of the melody, I'm sorry. So, again, right here, I want some silence, okay? And this is particularly a good idea if you're assigning this to a wind group or somewhat. People who have to breathe, they need silence anyway. So, okay, so silence was inserted there. So now articulations. These are very important. These little teeny details will actually make a melody is actually a very, very important aspect of melody. So sticking stuff like slurred lines, staccato lines, just call them short notes. Legato, short note. Let's just leave it at that. Okay, but accent, possible. I actually was trial running through here, and I remember I did change something, and so I'm going to do short note. Okay. Well, I did short note since I'm overdubbing this vocal here. And then here I said, well, why not stick in a trill, to a flat trill to kind of like use that flat, get that flat 6 in there. Well, considering that it's C chord. Okay. So a trill to the A flat. Say slur. Just connecting notes. Let's just say legato. Let's not overdo the terminology here. Maybe a accent there. I remember I did change the accent though. Now short notes again. Legato, short notes. Legato, short notes. Okay, let's just keep it at that. Okay. So, now at this phase, you might think about dynamic shaping, okay? And realize that notation playback is terrible. So, I mean, it doesn't sound very humanistic at all. So, and that's why at the end, I'm going to throw in a ton of interpretations using various instrument classes combined and whatnot. So, dynamic shaping. So I switched to the flute just to, as a okay, so remember notation playback and whatnot is not very humanistic. So and so dynamic shaping. We're gonna do a little bit of that and get rid of this guy. Okay. So you might choose it might be slightly let's just stick it there. Okay. And part of dynamic shaping is like crescendos and decrescendos. So we'll just stick in some little hairpins. And on the trill, we'll fall away. Okay. Let it die out a little bit. And back to our original dynamic, maybe. I got rid of the accent on there because I wanted that to actually kind of rise to a higher dynamic. So you could either choose dynamics. That's basically what we're doing. We're shaping, aside with articulation, we're shaping with dynamics. So unfortunately, notation playback does not do well when it comes to interpretation. So I'm going to go ahead and stop it after I write in this part. I'm going to go ahead and interpret this with various instrument combos. I'll use just all kinds of wind combos with double octaves and whatnot. So if you're wondering, all these playbacks are from Vienna Symphonic Library. Their wind library is fantastic. It's probably next to nothing, in my honest opinion, when it comes to articulations, and especially their legato and whatnot. It's just beautiful. So here's a bunch of combinations of. They even have saxophones in there. So, and one of the interpretations was saxophone when I stuck this in the sequencer. So I hope this helps you in creating melodies